and for inviting me here to moderate our discussion. Towards the end of the roundtable today with our great panel, we will go ahead and open it up to a Q&A segment of the program, so it'll be an opportunity for those in our live audience who are socially distanced today to ask questions, as well as those who are watching online. And also, I'd like to thank you, the person, whoever it might have been, kind of a personal aside here, for using my photo to promote the event, because that photo is about 14 years old. And I guess you can't stop Father Time, but I guess you can deal at a severe blow through photos, right? So I was flattered, and I was trying to think, I was saying to myself, I think that was taken in about 2008. Before I became a hockey broadcaster, I had a career actually in sales management, consumer sales to be exact. I was a district manager. I dealt with key account sales as well. And when I ran my district, I was certainly fully aware of the importance of the relationship of building in collaborative efforts and ultimately paving the way for success through those efforts, creating win-win relationships that really got stronger over time. It was really amazing what we were able to accomplish as a group within the wholesale and retail classes of trade. Okay, so why am I going back in my history here? Nobody cares about my history, but I wanted to say that because that's kind of what I see here today. Extraordinary business in the West Valley coming together, creating long-lasting and beneficial relationships, which really, if you think about our times today, are as important as we have ever seen. So I'm looking forward to this opportunity this afternoon, this panel, and I want to introduce some of the West Valley's finest business minds. So why don't we go ahead and meet them right away. First is the Executive Director of the Arizona Coyotes Foundation, Brittany Willett.
Hello.
Next, the Vice Mayor of the City of Phoenix, Betty Guardado. President and CEO of Westmarc, Sintra Hoffman. President, CEO, and alternate governor of the Coyotes, and I better watch myself here, he's my big boss, right? Xavier Gutierrez. And kind of tucked behind me here is the Superintendent of the Deer Valley Unified School District, Dr. Curtis Finch. All right, so we'd like to go ahead and start at the end of the table with Brittany and just have everybody kind of give a brief introduction to themselves, and we can head around the table and allow other panelists to do the same. Just 1-2 minute introduction of each of us. Brittany, why don't you lead us off?
Like Matt said, my name is Brittany Willett. I'm the Executive Director of the Arizona Coyotes Foundation, and I oversee our community impact. So really excited to be asked to be here today and really strengthen our partnerships with West Valley.
My name is Betty Guardado, and I am the Vice Mayor of the City of Phoenix, and I'm also the Councilwoman for District 5, which represents majority part of Maryville, also all the way out to the west side. I'm very excited to be with all of you today and talking about great stuff that we can get done here in the west side. Javier, thank you so much for having me here today. And I just learned that him and his wife are both from Los Angeles, so that's very exciting.
Hi, I'm Sintra Hoffman. I'm privileged to be the president and CEO for Westmarc. I've been with the organization now 5 years, and our goal at Westmarc is to position the West Valley for economic growth, and we do that through positive promotions of the West Valley and great partnerships like we have with the Arizona Coyotes. Thank you.
Thank you, Sintra. Good afternoon, everyone. Xavier Gutierrez, President CEO, as Matt mentioned. I have so many people I want to thank before we get going. First and foremost, I want to thank Sintra, Westmarc, the entire board, all the members, and I want to welcome you all, whether you're here in person in a socially distanced environment or online. This would not have been possible without your leadership and your partnership, and we're really excited about this. I also really want to thank my entire team here at the Coyotes. This is one team, it's one effort, and we were really, really excited to host this. This was one of the first ideas that I threw out. I've been here for 6 months in this role, and I said, we're in the middle of COVID. We, at the time, had a stoppage of play. We eventually went into the bubble, but we're a business, right? We're an enterprise here in the West Valley, and we have a bunch of business ideas and lessons to share with our fellow business community here. And so we reached out to Westmarc and we said, why don't we do a business summit? Why don't we get together and talk about lessons learned and best practices, everything from sales and marketing to how to manage a workforce in the middle of a pandemic, and just share and really create that bond. What I've said over and over again is we want to position ourselves as a value-add business partner, as a community leader, and as an innovative enterprise. And part of that innovation is in doing things like this, in which we're coming to the community and saying, how can we work with you? And how can we have a better relationship? So I want to thank you all for being here. I'm really looking forward to this conversation. And be careful when you give me a mic, Matt. You know that already. So.
All right, cool. Hi, Kurt Finch here, Superintendent Deer Valley. When Steve asked me about the summit, I'm a huge hockey fan. I grew up in Alaska, lived in Michigan for 20 years, and so I'm a huge Coyote fan. And obviously, being the superintendent in Deer Valley, we're New River to down to Bell Road, about 34,000 students, one of the largest in the state, 4,000 employees. And so I'm a big business partner in our neighborhood. We have about 1,000 partners that partner up with Deer Valley Schools. So this is a great opportunity to connect with the Coyotes as well. Love the Coyotes, and I do recognize your voice. Yes, I don't miss a game.
I'm so sorry. Well, let's kick it off. What do you say? Let's get to the first round of questions. And Javier, you said you love to speak into a mic. We're going to let you go first here. You're in charge of running a hockey team, okay? We've got the ice in. We're hopeful for a season. But what does that have to do with building community off the ice and being an integral part of the community?
Absolutely. Well, listen, we make no bones about the fact that we're in professional hockey, obviously. And we're very proud to be one of the member teams in the National Hockey League. When Alex Morello, a trailblazer in his own right, being the first Latino owner in the NHL, bought this team, he says, I want to win. Without a doubt, I want to win on the ice. But I also want to win off the ice. And that means being a good business enterprise, as I said, a value-added partner, a community leader in which we're very focused on impact, and being innovative and thinking outside the box about how not only do we connect with our fans, but how do we connect with our business community, our elected officials, all of the stakeholders that comprise this community. We take that responsibility very seriously. People have asked me over and over again, I don't come from sports. I have a 20-plus year career in investment in business and private equity and finance. Why did I take this job on? And besides the fact that I've been friends and business partners with Alex Morello for over a decade, it was this opportunity that sports gives you because of its convening power. We can convene fans, businesses, community leaders, community partners, and we can use that convening power to do the one thing that I've said to my entire team we want to be focused on, which is making a difference. Making a difference in our business community, making a business in our philanthropic efforts, in our nonprofit community, and throughout all the stakeholders. The education community. I mean, the reality is that we want to be a part of young people's lives, whether it's through sports, through education, through philanthropy. So all of this is what we are about. And when I've said a number of times, we're going to target our Coyotes fans, which are incredibly passionate and rabid. But we're also going to go to our Coyote fans in waiting. And you are all Coyote fans and Coyote fans in waiting. And it's up to us to reach out to you, to open our doors, to open our home, and to say, what can we do for you?
Well, Sintra, Javier brought up a couple of really key words, I think, convening and making a difference. So how does Westmarc work within the community, and how do you define regional partnerships, especially in the West Valley when you're looking at about 15 different communities? How do you do it?
With a lot of wine, first of all, for them, so they come to the table and they partner with me.
All right.
But I always say I have the best job in the world because I get to work with the 15 unique communities in the West Valley and to highlight the positive things that are going on in their regions, in their communities, and bring them all together as a region. The West Valley is 1.7 million residents, and so bringing all of those interests together can be challenging at times. However, we work with three major sectors, that being the government, education, and business community. And then more and more, a lot of nonprofits are joining Westmarc and working with us because they serve such a great need in the community. So to me, building regional partnerships is finding out, what's the common basis? What are we all looking to do? And it always comes back to building a quality of life, a great quality of life for our residents, bringing jobs to the region for our residents, building quality schools, and all coming together to move the West Valley forward. I think that's one of the great attributes that we have that's unlike any other community. We really, truly are a very cohesive community. And so for me, partnerships is about finding that right balance. What do you have that I need? What do I have that you need? And how do we massage it together? Because at the end of the day, we're all about moving the valley forward. And Javier and I talked about that. He says, you have the business membership. And you have the business community, and I want to connect in with them. And I said, well, you have something that the business community wants. They want to learn more about your programs and your packages. They want to first get into the arena. I was so excited today about finally after actually being in a sports arena for months. So just kind of finding what's common ground, where you want to move forward together, and putting that together, and understand that you all have each other's goals, and respect where you want to go together.
And I would imagine, Vice Mayor Guardado, everything that Sintra just said is really kind of at its central core is what you're all about, your key initiatives. What are some of the key initiatives you've employed to enrich your community? Specifically, what's important to your local school districts and the business communities that you serve?
So just to put my answer a little bit in context and where that passion comes from, I'm the oldest of three. I grew up in South Central Los Angeles. Did not have many teachers that would guide me or that would tell me this is where you should go right after high school. Also being part of a family that needed the money, that you get torn in these two places. What do? Do you continue and try to figure out how do you continue to go to school, or do you go out and find a job, a good bilingual job, and just help out the family? And for me, moving to Arizona in 2007 and being a union organizer for over 20 years, started off as a housekeeper, worked my way up. Then in 2019 decided to run for office because I was out in the community and saw the need. Specifically, I live in Maryvale. Specifically in Maryvale, 50% of the village there is under the age of 18. And thinking about how many of these students actually graduate from high school. And I think we find ourselves many times as elected officials or other elected officials saw themselves, how do we deal with the crime out in the streets? And the way you do it is by catching these young leaders at a very young age, 12, 13, and giving them a vision and making sure that they have a path in their education. We have a lot of our high schools in Maryvale, in the West Side, where at least 30% of those students, 40% don't graduate from high school. And I'm sure it's for the same reasons that I almost did not go to college, right? It's because you just don't have that path, and there's a huge need at home. And for me, one of the things that I did when I was knocking on doors, I asked people, what do you want me to do? I'm going to be the first Latina in a very long time to serve this community. What do you want from me? What do you want me to work on? And the biggest thing that people talked to me about was education. Right. When Terry and I met, right? I mean, when she and I met, she's president of the Glendale Community Colleges. It's like, Betty, how do I get to these students? How do I help them? And I think we found ourselves together with ASU, with GCU, with different folks, with our Washington school district, everyone telling me, Betty, how can we further education? And I am very proud of the partnership that we've been able to build with Westmarc and being able to work with them. And now they're going to bring in 2 facilities into the west side and hoping to be able to have a pathway for our students to be able to graduate from high school, for them to have a vision. I'm sure, even though they live around the corner, I'm sure they've never been into this arena. And those are the things that I, as an elected official, together with everyone here, want to change, right? I lived it firsthand as the firstborn and as a Latina in my household, and I know that's what people go through every single day in their homes. And we're in the middle of creating an incubator over at 19th Avenue and Northern, where we're going to be working together with the community colleges, with Westmarc, with ASU, and we're going to be doing programming for students and working with the Washington Park School District and trying to figure out how do we all continue to work together and give that pathway to students to be able to graduate high school, get a career, and then also helping. I mean, none of us asked for COVID, and now we've seen a lot of adults that are now misplaced, and hoping to be able to offer programming for them as well, to get back into a path where they can provide for their families. And I'm excited to be able to be on the driver's seat for the West Side and working with Sintra and working with everyone and making sure that we can make that happen.
Well, Vice Mayor, I love that word pathways, which is so critical in community, structuring and success. And Brittany, that dovetails perfectly right into the Arizona Coyotes Foundation. As an employee of the Coyotes, I've been fortunate to be able to work in some of the programs that you have facilitated, and down through the years. This is my 10th year with the organization. How does the Coyotes Foundation help those pathways? What do you have going on right now that we can all look forward to as we move along here?
Yeah, so let me start with our foundation's mission is to support children and servicemen and women in the areas of education. So definitely, hitting right here with what Betty's talking about: healthcare, cultural arts, economic empowerment, and youth sports. So that encompasses a lot, and we have a lot of different programs running to kind of facilitate each one of those pillars. Right now, we have been, if you've been noticing, kind of circulating, we're doing a 5K, so this is going to be my plug because it's the last day for registration, a 5K that will be supporting Rescuing Christmas for families in the West Valley. We've partnered with the Salvation Army on this, so all the funds from that will be going to kind of help facilitate food insecurity during the holiday season. Some of our more specific programs lead to our school program. So we do have a Coyotes reading program that supports the curriculum that is already in place in schools. We target 2nd through 4th grade, and we provide a kind of a reward system to encourage increased minutes. We have partnered as a NHL initiative. We've partnered with EverFi to execute a couple other programs, Future Goals, which is utilizing hockey through STEM to get kids excited about both hockey and learning science, technology, and all of the fun things that go into there. And then we also have Healthier Me, which is a nutrition and exercise-based program for elementary school students that's also ran through EverFi. So right now we have altogether about 22,000 kids in these 3 programs, and we'd really like to see that number increase. So excited about the partnership here today.
And when you talk about kids, you're talking about students. Superintendent Finch, these days the school districts are certainly dependent on community relationships, and the support that they give, that's an understatement, I would have to say. So focusing on your relationship with the Coyotes, how do you think that partnership has benefited the overall region?
We will take any interaction with the Coyotes. We love it when they show up. They come up, they share their mascot, they have breeding programs that she mentioned. We love to get the actual hockey equipment in kids' hands. That's the only way you get them started with the bug. But we actually do it with all the 4 professional sports organizations, and I'm convinced that if you want a Coyotes fan for life, we need a sticker on their notebook when they're 3 before they even start school. So I'm looking forward to this relationship expanding. I have connections within the superintendent world as well. I just think when the Coyotes are successful, the state is successful, because sport is not only entertainment, it's a distraction. It's something I can talk to my neighbor without arguing about something else, We can actually be on the same page.
Imagine that, right?
Imagine that, a common topic you can talk about, get excited about. So I think sport is also some of the only reason a kid comes to school. There are kids who only come to school because that sport is offered. And so sport has its place in society, it has its place in schools. And so the more we can promote all the values that come from sports, we learn leadership, you learn how to work together, you learn how to problem solve. All that is in sport as well. So the more we are connected to the Coyotes, I'm excited about expanding that, and we can't go wrong by continuing to promote our 4 major sports here, especially the Coyotes, because I'm a hockey fan.
That's awesome. So am I, by the way. And Brittany, I want to go back to you because the superintendent was talking about maybe we should slap a Coyote sticker on every 3-year-old's notebook, right?
Yeah.
And get them thinking about hockey. You talked about the programs at the community level. I want to dive a little bit deeper into that, though, and I want to find out from you, how do we create the connection of going from that to creating that next generation of Coyotes fans?
Yeah, I mean, I think he hit the nail on the head. I think getting a stick in kids' hands is step 1. I did fail to mention that we do have a PE curriculum that we offer, and our hockey development team has done a fantastic job of getting out in the community. We've definitely made a focus of this during the pandemic, as well as we've seen, just movement has been paused. People are staying inside. They're not getting out there and being active. So making sure that we're providing that resource. We've partnered with the Boys and Girls Club, specifically in the West Valley, to hold a series of street hockey clinics, provide them with all of the equipment, the resources, and the continued education to keep growing that.
Well, those are all great ideas, all great programs. Xavier, I want to go back to you. How can Westmarc and the leadership in the group help with the community connections as we're talking about all these ideas?
Sure. Well, obviously, Sintra and I have talked about a number of ideas, but it first starts with just making the connection. I'm not sure if we've invited all of your members to come visit us, to come see a game, visit one of our hockey clinics, be engaged with everything that we're doing. And that's step 1. It's just literally reaching out and inviting you. And then I use a lot of phrases. My team has kind of made fun of me. They realize I use things over and over again. I'm constantly trying to figure out, how does 1 + 1 = 5? Right? And in particular, when it comes to our philanthropic efforts, we're doing so many things. Our 1 hour, our $1, our 1 person of volunteering, how does that come together with what you all are doing? There are many enterprises that are members of Westmarc that are doing amazing things in this community, and we're not connected to you. What you're doing with the youth, we should be doing more, because it fits exactly with what we're thinking about accomplishing, again, with our 1 hour, our 1 person of volunteering. Matt and the broadcasting team, they go out and do amazing things in the community. How does that overlap with what you all are thinking about doing? And again, by creating that soul of a business, that becomes the pathway, again, using that word, to being beloved, because we're here to serve you. Yes, we're in sports. Yes, we'd love to have you all buy tickets and buy suites and be Coyotes fans, but more importantly, we want you to be engaged with who we are as an organization. And I put a slight twist on it. I'm trying to build Coyotes fans, not just necessarily hockey fans. Hockey is an amazing sport. It is a family-friendly sport. It's about passion, it's about speed, it's about skill. These young men are incredible role models and human beings. But it's more than that for us as an organization. Again, we want to win on the ice and off the ice. And winning off the ice is really connecting with you all about what it is that you're involved in and what you're trying to accomplish and how can we help you get there. We're not political leaders, right? We're not legislators, we're not policymakers, but what we are is conveners. And we are also able to show what the power of sports can do to transform the life of a young person, the life of a community, the life of a business. And so it's all of the above. It's D, all of the above. It's all of those things. And I hope that after today, what you're hearing is how we are transforming this organization to truly be engaged with this community in all of its facets. And we welcome you all to please think of us as that partner.
So Betty, off of that, how, in terms of engagement, tell us about some of the schools in West Phoenix that have, or if they haven't already, could benefit from such programs.
Absolutely. I think that in the West Side, we have amazing superintendents. We have our one in Tolleson, Lupita Hightower. Like she has an incredible mariachi. I mean, you hear those kids play, you would think it's a bunch of adults playing. They came in and they played at our Mary Maryville that we did last year, and they were amazing. And the way that she engages these children and the way I was able to do, I think it was principal for a day at one of the Shuley Farm schools, and just seeing just how they build those children and how they build that confidence and how they get them to publicly speak and getting them to think about what is it that they want to do in the future is incredibly amazing. We also have Cartwright, they're doing such amazing things. They have a facility, they're going to turn it into housing because they know they have a lot of families that are homeless and that don't have a roof to put over their tops, so they're over their heads, and they're also, and I'm working very closely with them to try to figure out how do we bring in more healthy food into that part of the district. We have a McDonald's at every corner, and we're trying to change that, right? We're trying to figure that out. We have Dr. DeBlue over at Pendergast, and she does this amazing event every year where GCU sponsors about kids that are being bullied at school. So that's her passion and trying to do that. So I just need to figure out how do we bring them all together, right? And definitely partnership with the Coyotes would definitely be something that'd be beneficial because they all talk about the same thing, and it's about, okay, how do we bring it all together and how do we continue to benefit our children and bring them, making sure that they're exercising, making sure that they're eating healthy foods, but most importantly, making sure that they have a roof over their heads.
Superintendent Finch, in a way, it might be a little bit of a catch-22 for you. I know the Deer Valley School District's been a great recipient of a lot of this. Do you want to share your secrets and what you've done that's worked? I would imagine you would, right?
Sure. I think the panelists here are all on the same trail. If you notice, it's all about connections. It's connections with my business community. We have a huge group there that helps us. I'm just thinking of the season. Just last night, we are accepting gifts and bicycles, and the community is almost overwhelming our system with help. And all that has come through connections. And so as all of you have schools in your neighborhood and they need your help, there are a lot of families coming up short this season. And so go knock on their door and say, hey, how can my business help? They will not turn you away. And so that's the secret. It is connecting with your community because schools are a reflection of your community. So we've been wildly successful. Obviously, even before my time, everyone knows where Deer Valley is and its success. 95% of our schools are A or B. We just continue to do well academically, do well athletically. But again, it all boiled down to connections. It's the business community plugging into the school, because when you care about it, we are a reflection of you, and we put out the product that you're looking for. It's a great team.
So maybe the Deer Valley High School Hockey League in a couple of years?
Yeah, we have two club sports, Mountain Ridge and O'Connor. And I was just talking to Javier. There's some ice up there. He could maybe buy. I think it's in the middle of the construction, but across the street. I don't know if you know this. Maybe you saw the announcement yesterday, but TSMC is coming to our neighborhood, coming to Deer Valley's neighborhood, right across the freeway from the new Honor Health hospital. They just spent $89 million yesterday on some land right across the street. They're the superconductor, bigger than Intel. So we're going to be, that northern section is just going to explode here in the next 3 to 5 years. So you want to catch that train.
Absolutely. It's pulling out of the station. Sintra, as a community leader, what more can you ask? I mean, as a sports fan, we've got a great team right here at Gila River Arena, a playoff team, by the way.
Ooh,
okay?
yeah.
And hopefully better this year. A great partner, of course, with Westmarc. So how do you think an elevated partnership with the team can grow the fan base and at the same time increasing investment and really creating not a short-term but a long-term relationship that can last for many, many years and build upon itself?
I think back to when the announcement that the team was coming to the West Valley was made, so early 2000s. It was an incredible day. We were so excited. We were excited about the team. We were excited about growing the sports industry in the West Valley. And, throughout the years, we've really been focused on the team and the sport itself and the games and who's winning and who's not winning and how many fans are here and there and all this. And when Javier and I first started talking, and we started talking about really kind of putting that aside and digging into the community and what the community needs. So this dialogue today, what you're hearing about how do we get into that next generation? How do we build that next generation of fans and start talking about those wins? My daughter, Arizona's a transient state, right? And that's something that all of the sports teams feel within the state. But it was, in my opinion, it's now, we've now grown our fan base. We now have a lot more natives in this area, and I think we need to stop talking about the transient piece of it and focus more on, who we have today. My daughter, for example, she grew up in Arizona, and she's a huge Coyotes fan. She can't wait to go to another game, so hopefully we'll get some more of that before we leave. But, I've seen that, working with the team, working with Steve Gonzalez and some of the other representatives, Anthony, learning more about, the investments that the foundation is making in the community. And I think that is, to me, the goal that we need to get out. That's what we need to make sure that people are understanding and they're starting to partner with the team on a different level. And in terms of building, hockey fans here, so I am a hockey fan, I'm a sports fan, but I just actually got on the ice for the very first time in my life.
How did it go?
It didn't. But I put skates on for the first time in my life, and I got on the ice. So there we go. Step one.
Well, maybe we'll get you a contract.
Oh, yeah. First
set you
female
up.
out there, right?
We want to move it along a little bit, talking about bringing people together. And Javier, we want to lead off with you. How do you do it in a multifaceted environment? You've got team leadership, you've got players, you've got the business, the community. They all impact your decision. How do you enlist all of these aspects and pull them together? I mean, I show up, I call the game. I worry about calling the game. That's it. You've got a million balls in the air all at one time.
Sure. Well, I mean, the very first thing that we have to do is be intentional about this. This is our plan. This is not ancillary to the business plan. This is the business plan. Yes, again, we are in professional hockey. We are an NHL team. We are a playoff team, and even better this year, without a doubt. But we are an organization and an enterprise that stands for so much more. And we want to be intentional about what we stand for. Amongst the things that I've shared with my team of saying, what is the narrative of the Coyotes? I want the narrative to be that we are about impact. So all the things that we do, not just philanthropically, but in general in this community, we want to make a difference. Second is that we're about inclusion. I've said this over and over again. We are going to super serve this incredibly rabid fan base. I don't know how many of you know how big a hockey town this place is. Not only do we have all these Canadians, which I wasn't aware of, by the way, until I moved here, which clearly love hockey, but also this is the #1 and the #3 growth markets for youth hockey in America, more so than Michigan or Minnesota, and I know those are near and dear to your heart. This is youth hockey central. We have a leading youth hockey for both boys and girls programs here. And finally, I didn't realize this, but this is like the off-season home for so many NHL players and the retirement place for so many NHL players. So, of course, it feeds into that. But having said that, we want to go to what the Vice Mayor was saying. Where are the communities in which we can show up and expose them, not just to this sport, but to this whole concept of achievement and success and empowerment, and how education plays such a key role in that. We want to be a part of that. That is inclusion, right? That is going to where, I often use Wayne Gretzky's line, where is the puck going? It's going young, it's going female, it's going multicultural, it's going non-traditional. So how do we go there? Again, not at the expense of our rabid fan base, but at the growth of where it's going. And finally, innovation. Innovation, yes, it means technology, but it means more than that. And so that's how we do it. That's how we think about it. We're intentional about it. We're authentic in terms of our outreach and in saying, we don't have all the answers. We'd like to partner with you all who together we can come up with the answers, and we think about it innovatively. And I think today is a perfect example of that. And what I had mentioned to Sintra right away, the very first time I met, I said, I want to do a business summit, and I want to do a nonprofit summit as well. How do we bring nonprofits together to say, what is it that it's on your mind? How are you dealing? How are you coping? And how are we, potentially a convener for people who might be able to help you, let alone the academic institutions. I was actually fortunate enough today to meet the president of GCU for the first time. And 1 hour meeting actually went 2.5 hours because I kept talking about, by the way, I can get very animated. That's the Latino in me with my hand. But the point is that it's so aligned with what they were doing. It follows the similar conversations I've had with, Dr. Crow at ASU and these incredible academic institutions here. So I said, what can we do with you? Not what do you do for us? Granted, I have sales folks here who are going to ask you, do you want to buy a ticket? Do you want to buy a suite? And yes, we'd love your support. We'd love for you to be part of our fan base. But more importantly, we'd love for you to think of us, the top of mind partner, as you are trying to accomplish your business goals, your philanthropic goals, your academic goals. That's what we want to be.
And Vice Mayor, I want to throw it over to you, because when you hear all these great ideas and when you try to put your ideas together and forward with a city council and many different opinions, how do you get that done? How do you work through that to get to a successful outcome?
That's a really good question. And if there's a booklet out there that I could read, I'll take it. I'll start with that. But yeah, we have a very diverse council. One of the first things I did when I first won was do a tour of the whole district. We went from the central of the district. We went from 19 North to Maryvale to the west side, which is Villa de Paz, and the mayor came, different department heads came, and I showed them these are all the different needs in District 5. This is everything that we need to get done in District 5. And I think for people to understand on the council the needs and just the potential that we have in the west side, I think one of the partnerships that we went into that has been very key and people have seen that has been very successful has been the membership that we now have with Westmarc. I think being able to talk about that and everything that we've been able to do together and plans for the future, I think has been incredibly important. I'm also a very hands-on person, and I have a lot of different community leaders now, different neighbors that have created neighborhood associations and block watches. And whenever we need something to get done at the city, is making sure that I'm able to help set up a lot of the meetings between the council members and the neighborhood leaders so they can hear firsthand, okay, this is what we need to change, this is what needs to be different. And again, I'm always about, okay, let's all come together, let's sit down, let's talk, let's come up with a plan. And I think also building those relationships with my different colleagues. I think that I just don't wait for a council meeting to talk to them and to see how they're doing. It's more like, let's go grab a cup of coffee, let's go get lunch. And this is all pre-COVID, right? So I'm glad I was able to do a lot of that work with them pre-COVID. And then for them to understand, like, what are my goals and what are the things that I want for the West Side. And everyone has been incredibly supportive on all the different things that we've been able to approve. On the city council, unanimously, we approved, I think it was a 3-year contract with Westmarc, which I think it was incredible to see unanimous support on that. But I think it's because of the relationships that I've built, and I think everyone sees that I try to be genuine and try to support everyone on the things that are important to them, so that they can do the same thing for me. And I think it's being proactive is what's gotten me to get them to understand where I'm actually coming from.
Now, Brittany, you're one of the most popular people when it comes to giving away money, right?
Yeah.
The Coyotes Foundation has a robust grants program. I mean, since I've been here, I know it's been tens of millions of dollars into the community. So how do you keep it all together? How do you manage the relationships? How do you manage the programs? And how do you decide what are the priorities in terms of giving the money away in the grants program, but at the same time knowing that you're making the biggest impact within the community that you possibly can?
Yeah, it's not always easy. I will start with that. It is, I think when I came into the role, I thought, oh, this is going to be, so fun and like a great, I'm able to, release funds out into the community. This is great. But when you go through the grant process and you're reading the needs and all of the great organizations that need support, and, unfortunately, you're not able to grant everyone, it becomes very challenging, but it fuels me to work even harder so that we can grant everyone and that our fundraising efforts continue to be able to make an impact. It's really hard to say like what we specifically look for, but we are genuinely looking for a partnership. We don't want to just be giving you funds. We want to be out there volunteering. We want to, really have an understanding of what the organization is doing. We want to be part of the impact. We want to include you in what we're doing. We want to have you out to games. So really finding organizations that want that true partnership with us beyond just providing the funding.
In Sintra, 15 communities. What's your secret sauce of pulling it all together?
Should I say wine again?
Well, okay, wine is one. How do you keep everybody happy?
You keep it simple. You keep the goals simple. When I joined Westmarc 5 years ago, I said to my friend who's sitting in the front row, Mike Hoover, I said, economic development's pretty broad. Westmarc is an economic development focused organization, but that's a pretty broad spectrum. What are we going to focus on? What is the top need? And he said, it's workforce. We need to make sure that we have identified our workforce. We have a talented workforce in the West Valley. We know we have changing demographics in the West Valley, but they're all traveling east for work. So we need to identify these folks and market the heck out of them so people understand really who we have here today, the assets that we have, the skill set, the education level, I can go on, and then start attracting those businesses, start marketing this information to those businesses so we can pull those companies in here. So really, it's taking that big, broad issue of, I have this elephant to eat, but finding out which bite you want to tackle first and working towards that. So that's really what we've done over the last 5 years. And as we spent a concentrated 3 years just working closely on workforce and promoting that information and growing that talent. Then we started looking at the quality of life. Well, okay, we have a talent base here. Well, why would they live here? Why do I live here? Because I love the quality of life in the West Valley. I love the community I live in. It's very close-knit, yet it's 3,000 square miles of diversity. So then we start looking at, okay, well, what do we need next? we start promoting our quality of life. We have some great partners, and we have some great investments in the community. That's awesome. But now what's next? We're missing the investment of Class A office buildings so that we can get that next level of employment. We have a lot of professional employees who are traveling or who were traveling prior to COVID. And we need to get them off the roads because that ties back into quality of life. So it's really, in my opinion, kind of finding, one major goal that everyone's focused on. Everybody, all the elected officials, all of the community leaders, they want a high quality of life in their community. They want great paying jobs for their residents, and they want them to live and invest in the community, live closely and invest in the community. And then, pulling that all together, and then we start kind of mushrooming them out. How does it layer on top of each other, and where do we go from here? And with that, the foundation of that, and Vice Mayor said it earlier, it's relationships. If you don't have the relationships, if you don't take the time to nurture the relationships, like Javier and I just met a few months ago, and we're moving the ball on where we're going. So if you don't take the time to build that relationship, nurture it, have some serious outcomes out of it, then you're not going to be able to tackle those big goals when they come at your plate.
Quality of life is obviously key in anything, and Superintendent Finch, it sounds like your students have a pretty good quality of life, within the economics or the educational structure. So how do you balance education and the extracurricular activities that you've talked about already, and really enable that quality of life?
Well, that's a trick question. That's a toughie. Because the reason it's
You're
tough,
the man. You're the man for it.
I can do it. Here's an interesting story about Deer Valley, and this is happening across the state. My southern half of my district is aging out, and my northern half of my district, we're 362 square miles, so we're very large. I think we may be the largest in the state, or one of. So as my one section ages out and grandmas are staying because they like the sun, that house doesn't have young people in it. And so we have to wait till grandma sells that to a person that has kids. And so as my northern explodes and my southern shrinks, we have an economic divide as well. I have 14 title schools in the southern half of my district with high need. And then I have tremendous, wealthier schools north, and they don't have the need. So as a leader of the organization, I have to have the discipline to make sure that all of those needs are met and to support those schools that need it the most. And that's where my business partners come in. They are the ones that step up and say, hey, we'll provide. Midwest Chevrolet gives bicycles every year to second graders in this one school that I have. And they've been doing it for 15 years. And so then the kid who has a brother, he knows he's getting a bike. He doesn't tell him, when you're in second grade, you're going to get a bike. And so that's the kind of business partners that I have in my district, and I funnel them to the schools that need the most. And that's really my role, is to make sure that all the resources are divvied up evenly and there's some equity in the system.
Absolutely. Final question. This is kind of a lightning round, everybody. You guys ready for a lightning round?
Yeah.
Sure.
One sentence to kind of firm it up, and we're going to start with the Vice Mayor.
Javier's going to fail that question, by the
Sorry.
way.
Javier, we're watching, we're listening. Vice Mayor, what do you think the Arizona Coyotes and Westmarc partnership will end up being? Will this take the relationship and the West Valley fan base to the next level? What do you think?
Absolutely. It's like, I think this is how we put, we've been, and this is, sorry, I'm also Latina, so I do talk a lot as well. So it's, so we have this presence, and I think that partnership between Westmarc and Coyotes, it's like the ribbon on top, what we need, to bring it all together, to wrap it up, and to being able to making sure that people don't travel past I-17 and are able to stay here for work and being able to be part of their children's schools, and then being able to provide them those resources that they may not have to be able to get into a different sport. At least you've put on the skates. I haven't even put on the skates, right? So I just think it's like, and I'm 43 and I have never put on the skates, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there as well. And I think it's going to be very fruitful being able to have this partnership in the West Side.
Brittany, somebody once said cash is king. We mentioned all the money that the Coyotes Foundation has granted over the years, but it's not just the cash, it's the relationships. Why?
I think it's exactly what Javier said, where 1 + 1 = 5. I think we can make such a bigger impact when we come together, and that goes far beyond just cash.
Superintendent Finch, it seems as if we always need more. So how will this partnership continue to enrich and grow the West Valley fans from your point of view?
I think it's access. If I can connect with these folks and get them access to other superintendents, other schools, promote it with my peers, that is, we'll be able to develop the next generation of fan, and that's what we need. We need fans that are reloading our machine every year, that are younger, and over time we'll build a rabid fan base that will carry us into the next generation.
Sintra, why is the relationship between Westmarc and the Arizona Coyotes critical?
Over the next 20 years, over 50% of the growth in Maricopa County will happen in the West Valley. Maricopa County is the 4th largest county in the United States. So we have the growth. We have 1.7 million residents today, and we're going to be growing. We're going to be taking the lion's share of the community moving forward. That is why this relationship is so important, so we can really mutually value each other and work together to build that partnership and keep investing in the community.
And Javier, last but not least, and we're watching you on the time. No, we're not. How can Westmarc and the West Valley, what can they do to show the region that they can grow the fan base here with the Coyotes?
Well, listen, it starts with this dialogue. And again, I know we're sort of coming to the end, but I'm so excited. This really was the vision that I had when we sat down of how can we come together. And so I do want to make a couple announcements because and my team is going to hate me because I didn't tell them about this. But number one, we are creating a Coyotes affiliate program for every Westmarc member in which we want to bring value add to you, whether it's discounts on merchandise and tickets or what have you, or upgrades, right? So one or the other. But so we're going to be working with Sintra and her team on this Coyotes affiliate program for the partners and for the members of Westmarc. The second is, and I had mentioned this to Sintra before, is we really want to celebrate Westmarc. So we're going to do a Westmarc night when we can have fans again, which we hope will be very soon, not just our season, but actually have you all here. So the folks who are associated with Westmarc, who are members of Westmarc, we want to celebrate you all. Because again, we want to talk about your successes. We want to talk about you, who you are. And so we're going to do that as well. And so I think that's how we do it, is by us being seen again as a value-add business partner to Westmarc and to its membership, and for us not just to be asking you, what can you do for us, but it's really, how can we be a platform for what your goals and what you're trying to accomplish?
Well, that's fantastic. We've now reached the question and answer segment of our program. So if we have a microphone, I believe, yes, we do. So if you have a question for our great panel, don't be shy, raise your hand, and we will make sure that the mic comes over to your socially distanced chair. Anybody? Don't be shy.
Everyone's shy.
Yeah.
All right, we got one in the front row. Must be in the front row.
Hey, thank you. Mike Hoover, City of Surprise. Quick question for Brittany. So Brittany, if a group was to approach you, what are the 2 or 3 things that they really should be keeping in mind as they introduce the concept of the relationship, and then what are you going to be looking for long term, maybe in 2 years if that relationship is codified?
I guess I would, in what kind of context? What are you looking to approach us with?
I can imagine there's a variety of groups that would love grants from your foundation. You started to emphasize the 1 + 1 = 5, but really what are you looking for is that in that personal interaction to know that this is a long-standing? What are some of the attributes of that?
Yeah, so we usually like to meet with an organization, partner with you in some way. So if it's a nonprofit that we're partnering with, let us get to know what you're doing, having us out to your facility, doing a volunteer project, getting our front office staff involved, I think is a really good first step, and then just continuing that conversation going forward. Just to elaborate a little bit on our grant process, we do open that up in January. It's open to all nonprofits that fit within our pillar and our mission in the state of Arizona that have been a 501c3 for 3 years or more. And that encompasses a lot of nonprofits here in the Valley. So we do try to do, as a front office, 5 to 6 volunteer projects a month. It's been a little bit limited and looks a little bit different right now in current times, but we're still out there and we're still volunteering. So I would just, reach out and, share what your organization is about, and that's a good first step.
If you don't mind, though, I would like to, and I apologize, I'm taking personal privilege in answering that. It's not just about the foundation, however, and I think we've talked about that. The foundation does amazing work, but what else can we do to build a relationship with the community, with the city of Surprise? It can include volunteer work. It can include our youth hockey being there. It can include our players being there. It can include having some of your businesses that are located there be part of our supply chain and our vendor base. So it's everything, and we've been trying to create it under this organizing concept of Coyotes Care. And it's, yes, the foundation does grants and we do giving and we do a bunch of wonderful things, but there's so much more that can create that connectivity with communities, with enterprises, with academic institutions. So I'd love to also expand the opportunity for connection.
Thank you for that. We have another question, front row as well.
Hi, my name is Terry Leba-Reese. I'm the proud 8th president of Glendale Community College, so welcome, Javier, to the West Valley.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your statement, 1 + 1 = 5, because I think what we've learned is our community is in need of so many resources to help them be successful. And as Sintra, you talked about the West Valley just growing, we want to make sure we have an educated population. We want to make sure that the pipeline includes the high schools, the community colleges, and onto the universities. And so I'm excited about how the opportunities are open to learn and to support each other in support of our community. I loved your mission about impact and making a difference in the community, because that's truly, I think that's all of our mission here. And so to know that there's a strong partner in the West Valley that's in support of that, thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much.
Anybody else from the live studio audience this afternoon here? From Television City in Hollywood? No, I'm kidding.
Hi, I'm Rick Dirks with Dirks Movie Logistics and with Westmarc's board. 2 questions for Javier, hockey related.
Yes.
A, what's your best guess on when the boys will start playing? And B, what's your prediction for the season?
Sure. So we will have a season, because there's been a question as to whether or not we're going to play. We absolutely will have a season. The reality is that it's probably going to be after the first of the year, so sometime in January. We have a unique situation in that we have these Canadian teams. So we don't just have one. The NBA had one that is going to be moving, I believe, to Tampa. We have 7, right? So
Yes.
It's a challenge because they're not going to be able to play. So we had to talk to the players union, do realignment. As you saw, there was rumors about realignment in terms of the Canadian and then 3 U.S. teams. So there's been a lot more logistical issues that we have to work with the players union to get that done, and thus that's really been the biggest delay. In addition, we also have jurisdictions that, quite frankly, are not even allowing players to practice. We actually have our players here. They have been in very strict protocols in terms of keeping everybody safe and healthy, but there are jurisdictions and there are teams, quite frankly, that have called us and said, we can't even have a training camp, let alone games. So there's been a lot of challenges. In terms of our expectations, listen, we're coming off being in the playoffs for the first time in 8 years. This is a team that is young, that is hungry, that is going to continue to develop. It's a very, very exciting team, and that's what we want to put. We want to put an exciting, very fan-friendly, but very competitive and winning attitude on the ice. And we feel very strongly that a repeat to the playoffs is absolutely in the cards. Having said that, it's going to be a sprint. I mean, this is going to be, you're talking 5 games, 7 nights. A lot can happen in sort of that sprint, but we feel very good about the young core that we have developing and being very successful.
Could be a lot of honey up in the TV booth too for the Throw,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. These guys are going to be.
5th game in 7 nights. I don't know. We might have to talk about that. Any other questions from the audience? Anybody? Once, twice? Sure.
As a West Valley representative, Dr. Finch, you stated it, sport. And I think as we all know, not only is everyone just have COVID fatigue, but we've got election issues on top. Thank God it rained today, right? 110 days. So we're all dealing with so many stresses. This is a bright light. Sports, fun, enthusiasm, those are the things not only that 50% of the Maryville children need to see, but all of our children. And just that normalcy of even watching a game on TV is something that we need to have society feel and be excited about again. So thank you, Westmarc, for putting this on. Thank you for bringing people together, because even though we are socially distanced, we're together. And that is the bright light, and sports can do it. Thank you.
Hear, hear. That's great. Anybody else from the audience? Any other questions? All right, we're going to move on. We've got a couple from online. This one's for Sintra. Sintra, how can new partnerships get involved with Westmarc? That was a question from online. What do they need to do?
I would say number one is just call me or email me, and we can talk about what partnership you're talking about and your goal is, because like I mentioned, I mean, we have a lot of members that come to us and they have a specific goal, but that goal usually ties into everything else that we're doing. So just give me a ring, I'll be here, or shoot me an email.
Terrific. And one other question, and I gotta make it bigger on my screen because my eyes aren't what they used to be. This is from Tracy. Highlight one collaborative project that is an example of the kind of work you hope to multiply. Anybody want to give an example? Javier?
I'll start, and it's something that I was really, really excited because it actually came from my team. It didn't come from sort of the top down. And that was that we were able to work with Maricopa County, and we were able to work with the city of Glendale to make Gila River a polling location and a voting booth. That was awesome, right? Because it was an opportunity for me to say, guys, let's do things that we hadn't thought about before. So what do we have? We have this massive place that people could come and feel safe and healthy and to do their civic duty. So I was really excited, and I was really excited again that it didn't come from me. I just said, let's think outside the box. And so that idea came forward. I believe we were the first one to announce in the NHL. Subsequently, obviously, you saw a lot of other arenas around the country do so, but I was really excited about that. And for me, that really shows when you talk about innovation is not just an app, and it's not just software. It is about how you think about things differently and how you can make a difference, with that being as your guiding light.
It's kind of like humanware, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just thinking and collaborating. And anybody else want to take a shot? Yeah, Sintra?
I feel like I have a great one. So obviously this year has been quite unique. At the beginning of the year, we had quite a bunch of new members join. And in March, one of our members said, okay, I've joined, I'm excited, how do I get engaged? And I'm going, I'm not sure. And so we stepped back and, worked with the Economic Development Committee and said, why don't we launch this series called West Valley is Open for Business? virtual tours. And so we did that back in April, and we were able to go out into different members. They had a lot of vertical construction going on. They had a lot of excitement. There had a lot of financial investment in these projects. But with everyone, locking down and not leaving the house, that can get lost. And so we wanted to make sure that we were highlighting what's happening. We were showing that despite what's going on out there, there's still a lot of investment and a lot of construction. So we started that back in April. We do it monthly. It's called West Valley is Open for Business Virtual Tours. And the more we do it, the more people are contacting us to get featured. And we grew our online audience, it's virtual, from approximately 40 to over 100. So it's been a pretty strong program, and going into 2021, we're going to be opening that up to out-of-state markets, because as Javier knows and Vice Mayor knows, when you live in California and you come to Arizona and it's beautiful, it's affordable, it's convenient, this is where we need to be. So that's what we have on the radar for next year.
Anybody else? Or yeah, sure, Brittany.
Have one. This summer, we identified a need for water, just with the heat and our vulnerable population needing water. We were able to partner with Pepsi, who's one of our corporate partners, iHeart, who supported and made a huge donation as well. All of our fans came out and really showed their support, and we partnered with Glendale Firefighter Charities. They helped us with getting all the manpower to get this water where it needed to be, and then also partnered with Phoenix Rescue Mission to help restock hydration stations in Glendale. So it was kind of one of those things where it was definitely a 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equaling a little more. So.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Vice Mayor?
I have one. So as everyone knows, right, with COVID and with everything that was happening, and I'm sure a lot of you guys saw on TV how it was taking 5-6 hours to be able to get a test. We had, especially on the west side, right, like everyone knows, Maryville was a hot spot for a very long time, and we had Vincier Cancer Center approach us and say, listen, we want to be helpful. We want to give rapid test results. We have this idea. So they met with me and with Councilmember Garcia and Councilwoman Laura Pastor, and we talked about like how is it that we could work together and get vans out and out in the west side and in the south side. And we did it, and it's been incredibly successful, being able to give people their results in less than 30 minutes. I think it's something that's been huge. We've done it in many different places, especially out here in the west side. We've been at the Fry's, we've been at the different parks, just being able to be at places where people cannot drive. And that was something that I feel really good about, that we were able to accomplish, given that the cases just continued to go up and up and up.
That's fantastic. 30 minutes is unbelievable. Superintendent?
We do have a relationship with the Diamondbacks. They do a food pantry in one of my schools, and I'd love to have a Coyote food pantry. The concept, again, is where if you're struggling as a family, they keep it rolling. The community donates to it. It's got a Diamondback sticker on the wall, and it'd be nice to have a Coyote sticker on one of my high schools or one of my schools, and the community could kind of rally around that point and help parents in need.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, I just want to take the opportunity to thank our great panel for really an enriching discussion this afternoon, and for everyone in attendance, thank you. And for everybody that has been watching online, I hope the holiday season brings you health. I hope it brings you happiness to you and your families. I know I'm excited. I'm actually heading up to Vegas to pick up my daughter. She's a sophomore. She's a hospitality management major up at UNLV, and she's excited about coming home, and really looking forward to some family time, and I hope all of you are in the position to have great family time as well. Again, thank you so much for attending. Go Coyotes, go Westmarc, and go West Valley. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I thought you were going to howl there.
Yeah, I thought so too. I was waiting.
He was getting close.